Sweltering heat, arid landscapes with no shade to protect visitors, and no sources of water for miles. These are distinct characteristics of Big Bend National Park in Texas. Yet despite these harsh conditions, people flock to the park to visit and experience its remarkable blend of diverse ecosystems, stunning landscapes, and rich cultural history. But amidst the park's rugged beauty, several instances that claimed park visitors' lives happened, despite authorities' warnings and precautions. Join us as we take on these stories and unravel the mysteries behind the most disturbing deeds at Big Bend National Park. Richard Merrill stood at the entry of the Marufo Vega Trail in Big Bend National Park, a large area of rough terrain in far west Texas, famous for its harsh climate and challenging landscape. Merrill adjusted his backpack and looked at his watch, while the sun relentlessly beat down, creating harsh shadows on the dusty trail. On July 2nd, the oppressive heat of the day had already set in. The Marufo Vega Trail, a 14-mile loop, provided breathtaking views of the desert scenery. However, it was known for its difficult conditions. Hikers were cautioned about the absence of shade water and the chance of temperatures climbing over 110 degrees in the spring and summer seasons. Even though there were warnings, Merrill remained unfazed. He had previously traversed this trail and saw himself as a seasoned adventurer. As Merrill started his hike, the temperature rose, surrounding him in a stifling hug. Sweat droplets started to appear on his forehead, and he felt his throat dry with each inhale. Nevertheless, he persisted, determined to reach his intended destination. Hour after hour, Merrill slowly walked on the difficult trail, the unforgiving sun shining down on him relentlessly. With every stride he took, he felt the creeping exhaustion closing in on him, while delirium lurked on the fringes of his thoughts. However, driven by an unwavering determination, Merrill pushed himself forward to conquer the trail. As the day progressed, Merrill's body started to let him down. He tripped and wobbled, becoming increasingly slow and clumsy in his actions. He was gripped by heat exhaustion tightly, draining the energy from his tired limbs. Struggling and disoriented, Merrill battled to stay awake as he made his way toward the southeast edge of the Chisos deserts. However, as time went on, his energy waned, and eventually, exhausted and overheated, he fell to the hard ground. In the meantime, park rangers found Merrill's vehicle parked at the Marufo Vega trailhead. A message was placed on the car's windshield detailing Merrill's intention to hike from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. and asking the park to be informed if he didn't come back by that time. After 2 p.m., the rangers immediately started a search and rescue mission to find the hiker who had gone missing. As time went by, the sun went down below the horizon, creating long shadows on the desert floor. Tired yet resolute, the search and rescue teams thoroughly searched the rough landscape, driven by a feeling of desperation and fear. He wasn't discovered until the next morning. Richard Merrill was alone and lifeless, near the southeastern edge of the Chisos deserts. The community was deeply shaken by the tragedy, causing concerns about the dangers of hiking alone in isolated wilderness areas. What motivated Merrill to undertake such a dangerous solo journey? What made him disregard the alerts regarding the risks of hiking in high temperatures? What could have been implemented to avoid this tragic loss of life? As the investigation progressed, it became evident that Merrill's death is a clear warning of the dangers of going into the wilderness by oneself. Although solo hiking provided a feeling of independence and seclusion, it also exposed hikers to the uncertain elements of nature. In the end, Merrill's tragic fate was a stark reminder of the delicate equilibrium between humanity and the natural world, and the repercussions of underestimating the strength of the wilderness. The park rangers at Big Bend National Park actively monitor the meandering paths of the expansive Texas desert, guaranteeing the well-being of guests in the harsh conditions. Their watchfulness is crucial because the extreme temperatures pose a significant risk. The intense heat has been a major cause of disasters in the park. On a scorching day towards the end of June, with the sun beating down relentlessly, the rangers set out on their patrols, their radios buzzing with information and updates. The atmosphere was thick with warmth, a physical pressure bearing down on the terrain. Regardless of the scorching heat, they continued forward, determined to protect the lives of those brave enough to explore the wilderness. Isaac Irving Rosen, a lively 75-year-old from Houston, was one of the numerous hikers attracted to the rugged beauty of Big Bend, displaying a strong affection for the outdoors. Rosen was accustomed to the challenges of hiking in remote wilderness areas, showing a tough determination and adventurous spirit that surpassed his age. However, his extensive experience would be tested on that fateful day. Beginning his journey on the Chimneys Trail, a 5-mile loop famous for its volcanic formations and mildly challenging landscape, Rosen enjoyed the chance to be completely surrounded by the beautiful nature. Even with the intense heat, he continued walking, his spirits undaunted by the scorching sun beating down upon him. As time passed and the temperature kept rising, Rosen started feeling more and more exhausted, the unrelenting heat draining his energy with every step he took. With a dry throat and tired limbs, he pressed on, determined to reach his destination despite the strain on his body. However, as the sun reached its highest point and the unbearable heat intensified, Rosen's determination started to weaken. The heat and exhaustion blurred his surroundings, numbing his senses under the immense heat of the desert sun. Far away, the tall volcanic dike formation stood like ghostly guards, with their rough outlines serving as a clear indication of the unforgiving allure of the desert terrain. All at once, Rosen was hit by a wave of dizziness, causing his vision to blur and his consciousness to start to unravel. Despite the clear signs of heat exhaustion, he continued to fight through, with his strong will conflicting with the extreme fatigue that was close to overwhelming him. However, he was unable to emerge victorious from this test of endurance. Rosen's body gave in to the unrelenting desert heat as his energy dwindled and his limbs weighed down, causing him to collapse on the trail. His limp body sprawled on the hot desert ground just half a mile away from the trailhead. The rangers stumbled upon Rosen's remains by accident at 7:45 p.m. Upon the discovery of the corpse, the rangers were faced with a tragic yet puzzling sight. The details surrounding Rosen's demise were cloaked in ambiguity. What made him push himself so far? How had he given in to the heat after all his experience and readiness? What set this event apart was not only the unfortunate death, but also the victim's age, serving as a stark reminder of how older people are more susceptible to the challenges of outdoor activities in difficult terrains and severe weather. Rosen's passing emphasized the significance of acknowledging one's physical boundaries and taking necessary measures, particularly when participating in intense activities such as hiking in isolated wilderness locations. Following Rosen's death, there was a renewed push to educate people about the significance of heat safety and proper preparation before embarking on the park's distant trails. In the harsh terrain of Big Bend National Park, the distinction between adventure and disaster was frequently narrow, highlighting that even seasoned hikers faced risks in its tough environment. The intense heat from the blazing sun relentlessly struck the rough landscape of Big Bend National Park, creating shadows that provided minimal relief from the stifling heat. In the center of this expansive desert landscape, a tragic event occurred on the Dog Canyon Trail on June 18, 2017. Kathleen Weir, a Cedar Hill, Texas resident, age 46, set out on a hiking trip with her partner. As they continued their journey into the dry terrain, the unrelenting heat started to have an impact. The heat caused waves of distortion in the air, making it difficult to breathe. With every stride, Kathleen and her hiking partner experienced the heavy burden of the sun pressing upon them. Sweat droplets ran down their foreheads, drying up quickly in the scorching heat. The previously lively scenery appeared to become blurry in front of them, hidden by the haze caused by increasing temperatures. As the sun rose higher in the mid-morning sky, signs of trouble started to become apparent. Kathleen and her companion experienced a gradual decrease in their energy, as their bodies surrendered to the relentless effects of dehydration and heat exhaustion. Their dry mouths made it difficult for them to breathe in the oppressive air. With every stride they took, the path continued to spread out in front of them, without any end in sight, serving as a harsh reflection of the harsh wilderness enveloping them. The intense heat felt like it was penetrating deep into their bones, draining their energy and determination little by little. Despite the scorching heat, Kathleen and her companion persisted, fueled by a resolute resolve to conquer the path ahead of them. However, as time passed, their morale started weakening, burdened by the stifling heat surrounding them like a suffocating blanket. By midday, the signs of distress had become impossible to ignore. Kathleen and her partner stumbled along the trail, their movements sluggish and labored. The once vibrant landscape had become a desolate wasteland, devoid of life and hope. It was at that moment when Kathleen's companion made the crucial choice to ask for assistance, embarking on the difficult trek back to the starting point in a last-ditch effort to get help. They felt as if time had frozen while they waited for assistance, with each moment feeling like an endless stretch in the sweltering heat. However, even with the quick reaction from park officials, it was already too late. When assistance finally reached the scene, Kathleen's limp body was found among the rough landscape, a heartbreaking casualty of the harsh elements that had ultimately taken her life. Her death was later found to be caused by environmental hyperthermia, showing the deadly mix of high temperatures and harsh terrain. On that fateful day, the temperatures reached an astonishing 110 degrees, covering the surroundings in a stifling layer of heat. The family and acquaintances of Kathleen were left pondering one crucial question as word of her untimely death circulated. What compelled Kathleen and her partner to continue on the arduous journey, despite clear warnings and indications of intense heat on that tragic day? Kathleen Weir's tragic destiny was not a singular occurrence. In the year 2016, 4 individuals perished in the park due to the dangerous conditions, each meeting a tragic end in their own unique manner. From horrific accidents to deadly allergies, Big Bend's wilderness showed no mercy to anyone. In a harrowing incident at Big Bend National Park in southwest Texas, tragedy unfolded as extreme heat claimed the lives of 2 hikers on June 23, 2023. The National Park Service issued a solemn statement detailing the sequence of events that led to the untimely demise of a stepfather and his teenage stepson. The day began like any other, in the expansive wilderness of Big Bend, with temperatures soaring to a staggering 119 degrees Fahrenheit. The Marufo Vega Trail, notorious for its rugged terrain and lack of shade, bore witness to the ill-fated journey of the Florida man and his 2 stepsons, aged 14 and 21. As the trio embarked on their hike through the Dead Horse Mountains, the oppressive heat took its toll on the youngest member of the group. The 14-year-old stepson fell victim to heat exhaustion, succumbing to the merciless sun as he lost consciousness along the trail. In a desperate bid to seek help, the stepfather made the agonizing decision to leave his ailing stepson behind and hike back to their vehicle. Meanwhile, the older stepson valiantly attempted to carry his brother to safety, braving the unforgiving elements in a race against time. At approximately 6 p.m. local time, a call for emergency assistance reached the Big Bend National Park's Communications Center, triggering a swift response from park rangers and U.S. Border Patrol agents. By 7:30 p.m., they arrived at the scene, only to find the lifeless body of the young stepson along the unforgiving trail. Their grim task was far from over as they continued their search for the stepfather. It wasn't until 8 p.m. that authorities stumbled upon a chilling sight: a vehicle belonging to the stepfather, overturned at the precipice of Boquillas Overlook. The stepfather was pronounced dead at the scene of the crash, adding another layer of tragedy to an already somber day. The identities of the victims remained undisclosed by authorities, pending further investigation into the circumstances surrounding their deaths. The National Park Service issued a stark warning in the wake of the incident, highlighting the extreme heat conditions prevailing in Big Bend National Park. With daily highs reaching a scorching 110 to 119 degrees Fahrenheit, hikers were urged to exercise caution and refrain from venturing onto the trails during the afternoon hours. In a somber statement, the Park Service underscored the unforgiving nature of the Marufo Vega Trail as it meanders through the harsh terrain of the desert and rocky precipices nestled within the scorching heart of Big Bend National Park. They even went as far as to say that the lack of respite from the relentless sun, coupled with no source of water replenishment, renders this arduous trail perilous for those daring to venture during the sweltering summer months. The Marufo Vega Trail, with its deceivingly beautiful views and treacherous terrain, had claimed yet another set of victims. Yet amidst the sorrow and grief, questions lingered in the minds of those touched by the tragedy. What had compelled the stepfather to leave his stepson behind? Was there foul play involved in the fatal crash at Boquilla's Overlook? As the investigation progressed, authorities delved deeper into the lives of the victims, seeking answers to the mysteries that shrouded their untimely deaths. Family members, friends, and acquaintances were interviewed, their accounts pieced together to form a clearer picture of the events leading up to the tragedy. Meanwhile, the community of Big Bend National Park grappled with the aftermath of the incident, grappling with the sobering reality of the dangers lurking within its vast expanse. The Marufo Vega Trail, once a popular destination for intrepid adventurers, now stood as a solemn reminder of the perils of nature's unforgiving embrace. In the weeks that followed, the investigation yielded few definitive answers, leaving many questions unanswered and the circumstances surrounding the tragedy shrouded in uncertainty. The identities of the victims remained undisclosed. On March 7, 2023, amidst the scorching heat of a Texas afternoon, a 64-year-old woman stood at the entrance of Big Bend National Park, readying herself for what she anticipated would be a leisurely hike. Big Bend National Park, with its rugged terrain, desert landscape, and the Rio Grande River running through it, provided a rich backdrop for her adventure. Yet, despite its breathtaking beauty, the park was notorious for its unforgiving weather conditions, particularly the relentless heat that blanketed the landscape, especially during the summer months. During the summer, temperatures in Big Bend National Park often soared to staggering heights, with average highs exceeding 100 degrees Fahrenheit. The combination of intense heat and the park's arid climate created a hostile environment for hikers, where even the most well-prepared visitors could find themselves at the mercy of the elements. Despite the searing temperatures, visitors and tourists continued to flock to the park, drawn by its allure and natural splendor. Among them was the 64-year-old woman eager to immerse herself in the wilderness and explore the wonders of Big Bend. As she joined the other groups of park visitors and began walking along the Hot Springs Canyon Trail, the woman soon felt the effects of the oppressive heat. The absence of shade and sources of water for miles on end left her exposed to the full force of the sun's rays, intensifying the already harsh conditions of the desert environment. With each step, the woman's fatigue grew and she began to feel dizzy and nauseous. She cast her eyes across the expanse of the dry desert, hoping to spot a place where she could seek respite from the blistering heat. But the landscape offered no solace, its barrenness stretching endlessly before her. Big Bend National Park's treacherous landscape, coupled with the absence of shade and sources of water, made it one of the harshest environments for hikers, especially those with medical conditions or those of advanced age. As the woman's condition deteriorated, her movements caught the attention of the other hikers nearby. And then, at around 2:45 p.m., the woman collapsed onto the hot ground with a resounding thud, succumbing to the oppressive heat that enveloped the trail. The other hikers sprang into action, immediately calling for emergency assistance in a desperate bid to save the stricken hiker. The park's communications center received the emergency call, prompting a swift response from a team of park rangers and a U.S. Border Patrol agent. Racing against time, the responders reached the woman by 3:30 p.m., where they commenced CPR in a desperate attempt to revive her. Despite their efforts, all attempts to resuscitate her proved futile. Recognizing the severity of the situation, park officials called for a U.S. Border Patrol helicopter to provide emergency transport for the stricken hiker. However, tragically, their efforts were in vain, and the woman's life could not be saved. While the precise cause of the woman's collapse and subsequent death remained unknown, the incident served as a reminder of the unforgiving nature of Big Bend National Park's environment. With its sprawling 800 acres of rugged terrain and desert landscape, the park offered breathtaking vistas but demanded respect and vigilance from those who ventured into its blistering wilderness. As the investigation into the incident continued, the memory of the 64-year-old hiker served as a reminder of the fragility of life and the need for caution in the face of nature's unpredictable forces. What caused the woman's collapse? Was it solely the heat, or were there other factors at play? The unknown surrounding the incident left room for mystery and intrigue, prompting questions that lingered long after the sun had set on Big Bend National Park.